I saw a client who had gotten a bit of paralysis, but they're about 28 years. And it's because of high blood pressure. I was shocked. I've seen children who walk while supporting themselves using the wall because they're too obese to walk on their own. So this is already happening. But it's happening at the same time as when people are dying of malnutrition.
I used to have psoriasis covered 85% of my entire body. And in Florida, I met a nutritionist. She's like, cut out all these things and you'll see some changes. And in Uganda, we had seen all the dermatologists. I came back home, cut out everything, and I was cleared in 2 months. I only had 5% of patches.
You find an expert telling you, eat beef only, carnivore diet. Another person tells you, keto is the way to go. Make sure you take tea which has butter tea. That person tell you, no, eat only vegetables. Vegetables are good for you. That's a blood group. So what are you going to do? And did you know that leaves of peas have more protein than the actual pea?
Oh.
And yet everyone tells you, where's the protein on the plate? You're telling me to eat greens only. Am I a grasshopper or something? Every insurance company giving insurance must give you nutrition also as well. As a service, honestly speaking, it doesn't make sense for you to give someone a gym membership of $1,000 and not even spare like 100 of them per year to a nutritionist to make sure they actually are fit to be in the gym. For example, do keto a lot, and yet keto is supposed to be a medically supervised diet. But ideally, you can get into ketoacidosis, and it can be very, very deadly. If not dealt with properly, someone can die. The third thing we should stop doing is taking advice on nutrition from a nutritionist. Like, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast on Uganda. Today's segment is the segment on sectors. Now, this segment brings leaders who are championing change, who are doing amazing things in their sector, to contribute to the economy, but they're also changing lives as they do it. Now, our guest today comes at such a right time because everybody's trying to live a healthy life, conscious life. Well-being is now the talk. We had a conversation the other day with my mom, and every Sunday I give her massages, but then I'm not qualified. One of the qualified masseuse was in the house, and then she looked at me when they were calling out those people who give massages badly and they're not even qualified. So today we have a qualified dietitian, a nutritionist, and he's the founder of Amicable Nutritionists, Ivan Philip Baguma, and he has spared his time to come and chat to us today. Welcome to the podcast, Ivan.
Thank you, Aggie.
How are you feeling?
Happy to be here.
Yes.
Feeling refreshed.
You know what they say about people's skin glowing? That it's really in the food. Is that true?
Yes, it is. Of course. Why not?
Yeah, I can see that on you.
I appreciate it.
You're walking the talk.
We try. There is no dietitian who eats 100% healthy. It would be a lie.
Yeah.
But ideally, the proportions are important. But of course, physical perception at times also pushes us to make sure we try our best to stick within the guidelines to get people to follow. Imagine a dietitian who is having a pot belly. Would you listen to them?
I know they say, I think in the Bible, do as I say, not as I do. But he has had some time at the Nakasero Hospital. He preaches the gospel of proper diet, nutrition. And I was just asking him now, because which sector would I put him? Would I put him in food, health? And he's like, they're very intertwined. But if you can tell me, what are you noticing in Uganda today? How are we consuming our foods differently as opposed to the past? Although you think in the past, like our great-grandparents, they ate all these greens and fruit and not like we're doing today. So what are you noticing, especially with the patients that walk in and out of your premises?
Speaking about recently, actually, something very interesting that happened. They say be careful about doctors or nutritionists. Maybe their next example, if they won't name you. I saw a client who had gotten a bit of paralysis, but they're about 28 years. And it's because of high blood pressure. I was shocked. I've seen children who walk while supporting themselves using the wall because they're too obese to walk on their own. So this is already happening. But it's happening at the same time as when people are dying of malnutrition, where babies die because they're malnourished and the like. That being said, right now we have a triple burden in nutrition, whereby you have people who are malnourished because of undereating. There are those who are malnourished, I would say overnourished because of overeating. And there are some who have hidden hunger, whereby they eat food, get satisfied, but they have lots of micronutrients which are missing. Those are all happening at the same time. So right now we're shifting away from food being just a malnutrition thing, but now productivity and focus on concentration. Basically, how you can work well is now related to how you eat. Talking about the past, how they used to eat before, it was different for every kind of culture. And the person from Karamoja will tell you, for us, we used to eat meat every day and drink the blood. The people who do other cultures which cultivate will tell you that we used to have maybe plant foods, beans, peas, you name it. Lots of greens, fruits at the mango trees, anywhere you can eat them from. I had a fruit
Yeah, this morning.
this morning. So I can see
Oh,
you're also
in
trying
shape.
to stay in shape. That's
But I
really
have
good.
reasons. I have psoriasis, and now I have complications
Your
in my
skin doesn't show
fertility.
psoriasis.
That is true.
Yeah, so your eating
It
is
doesn't
working.
come on my face, so I really need to
Eat
watch out
fruits.
what I eat. I don't eat gluten, I don't take dairy, no red meats. It's crazy.
So you've understood the elimination diet already.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good for you.
And I can assure you, I used to have psoriasis covered 85% of my entire body. And in Florida, I met a nutritionist. She's like, cut out all these things and you'll see some changes. And in Uganda, we had seen all the dermatologists. I came back home, cut out everything, and I was cleared in 2 months. I only had 5% of patches.
Nutrition has a very big factor in how it affects your skin, like you mentioned earlier on. But interestingly, many of us don't even know that.
No.
In terms of skin, the interesting thing is this. People don't realize that there are common culprit foods that actually affect their skin. Like you've mentioned dairy, the other foods like groundnuts.
Really?
Yeah.
I love granules.
Some people, bananas are not okay, are troublesome. Basically, they're foods that are either high in histamine or can be able to cause histamine to increase. So those are the foods that are usually eliminated in what we call the elimination diet. You can do it for gut restoration. Naturally speaking, in a period of about 3 weeks to 6 weeks, you should be fine. Because it's like an autoimmune thing. Your body is reacting to a foreign organism or foreign particle. It's food which you're eating, but the body thinks it's a foreign body. So it kind of comes against itself. Then you begin to experience the psoriasis, eczema, and many other symptoms. So that's how you can deal with that. Any question you'd like to ask me in terms of nutrition?
It's crazy just thinking how you give a juxtaposition of there's malnutrition, but there's also
Overnutrition.
Yes, overnutrition.
About 3 in 10 people are overweight or obese. So we have to count how many people in this room. One of us is. And you find that it's a big, big challenge. Personally, with my practice, that's my biggest focus because there's lots of government funding that goes into malnutrition for babies. And that is very key because if you look at the national plans, I don't want to mention so many technical terms, but those people who have read those NDPs and UNAPs, ideally, you find that one of the biggest things government is looking at to get us that middle income status, that if we have a human capital that is well developed, you can actually have that middle income status achieved very quickly. In the recent trends that are happening now, people are realizing that actually corporate wellness is no longer just gym subscription and aerobics twice a week. Now it goes into the food you eat because that determines how productive you will be after you've eaten the food. It goes into your weight status or how healthy you are because next thing you know, you're going to fall sick. That makes you less available to work. You become less tolerant to stress if your pressure is always high. It means you can even have a stroke, a heart attack. It's because of stress. You spend more money when it comes to insurance because of not being healthy or well. You miss days of absenteeism or become less productive on the days you're not feeling well. So everyone understands that now. It's like a really emerging trend. And everyone is focused on saying, how do I keep my people working well? So of course, that's one of the ways you do it when they're already older. But what else we can do in the first 1,000 days before a child actually comes from conception up to 2 years? It's very critical for their brain to develop. So if a child doesn't have that required nutrition at that point in time, they'll become less productive in terms of knowledge-based expertise. So there's that gap in there. Nutrition is a very big factor in the nation right now. Another thing you can look into would be, with this nutrition happening now, it also helps a lot to alleviate poverty. Actually, in the households, most of us are just one sick patient into bankruptcy. Do you know how much it costs for a night in the ICU? Give a ballpark figure, any guess?
4 million.
It's a good one. Sometimes 7, depending on where you go. So how many people have 7 million hanging around waiting to be spent a day? Let's say if you had savings, divide by 7 million. How long will you survive on your savings? If you had property, you get the picture. And you find that whenever you're in a desperate position, cash becomes king. and you have to spend all the money you have or sell your property at a very huge loss. Why? To preserve life. So if people don't realize that life is very important at this time, it will affect them in the future in case they fall ill. I'm not saying that if you follow all the guidelines nutritionists or doctors give you, you will never fall sick. Not really. But you have a good investment account, meaning that if you fell sick, you're more resilient to it. If your stress is coming hard on you, you're more able to survive that stressful situation. When that happens, people can actually lose money because of that, household level. And if you don't have enough income, you will have a broke population. Yourself will have not enough money to do what you want to do, to develop, even to grow a business. The money you could have used for compound interest, you could have used it for a small business, or just for even educational purposes to increase in knowledge and experience, you lose it just because of illness.
Evan, it's amazing. It's amazing because for Uganda, right? At least every street has a fruit store, different colors, red, yellow, green. But we've also heard that some of our delicious fruits, only known to Uganda, can be too sweet or too damaging for some organs in the future. The people who listen and watch are patriots. You can imagine that they're young, right? They just want to explore. Or even some people are really now cautious on blending juices or having some recipes of like shots with ginger, turmeric, and whatever. What are the practical opportunities for them to tap into so that we can achieve that middle class economy in 2040?
A few of them I can mention ones. One would be entrepreneurship, really, because the patriots are encouraged to be entrepreneurial. It's one thing to wait for a job.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was straightforward. Go to school, the job is waiting for you. You're well trained for that job. But now we're living in a very fast-paced world. So by the time you finish your degree, it might be obsolete, unless it's something really, really sensitive and professional to that detail. But in most cases, lots of work is being done by artificial intelligence or by machinery to do certain pieces of work. The opportunities I would put there would be solving issues, entrepreneurship really, taking a risk, opening up a business. It could be for selling fruits, it could be export, import, farming. As a country like us, ideally would be a very good food basket. And I think everyone agrees. If you look at the Africa, I think 2063 plan, they were saying we should be the food basket. And I agree, because you have lots of arable land, lots of very good healthy fruits you could use, which could be supplied. With that food chain in there, first you could be the farmer. Youth in agriculture are very important. And if anyone will come and talk to the patriots, because it's a very important key in the food chain. The other bit that's there is actually being the middleman. You don't have to grow the thing, but just make sure they get from the point A to point B and reduce post-harvest wastage. We have a lot of losses in there, and apparently if we worldwide curbed food wastage, we could actually feed everybody else. But you find countries like ours has so much nice food because of some challenges in infrastructure, you might find that there's lots of wastage along the way. The other gap that can be filled in could be the professional gap. Besides you selling everything, you could just be a dietitian like myself, a nutritionist, and educate people, because right now what you're dealing with is a demand. Reason why demand for certain foods is not high is because people don't appreciate them enough. They appreciate that if I buy a sack of posho, it can last me these many months to a year without going bad and can feed my family, and they won't lack energy. They can take porridge or whatever it is. But I don't appreciate that if I have these fruits, I can prevent my heart disease, prevent the high cholesterol people always alarmed about. I can help myself prevent cancers and much more. They don't realize that if you eat it this correct way, you'll be healthy and well. You've had this before where they mentioned that when it comes to staple foods causing illness, you've heard of that before?
Yeah.
Usually it's not because the staple food is bad, but the proportions in which we eat the staple food
Yes.
is the challenge, and how we pair it.
Schools need to hear this. Those schools that still eat beans and kosher
Very
rice.
healthy meal, by the way.
For every day. You just say that.
It's a very healthy meal, but variety is key. The issue is some of the schools do pressure to the first day of the year to the last day of the term.
Yeah.
But you find that also the education gap is there, but another one is financial. I can't say financial so much for Uganda, because if we have a higher demand, very clear systems and food supply and distribution, reducing post-harvest losses with acceptable preservation methods, you'd find that everybody can get food because we're able to supply beyond our borders. That's in terms of food. The other bit I want to talk about is in terms of the youth specifically. There's digital. You could just be a content creator, educate people on television or social media. And
But how do they learn? For example,
Yes.
there's quite a lot of foods available. But based off of your experience, the knowledge you're getting from all these people walking in and out of your room, what would you advise them against? that is already, it's a no-brainer for you. There's a guy who told us here, stop the Rolex. It's fried on I don't know what, and eggs and chapati. If you eat that every day, it's not good for you. So are there those things that you see for you, they're no-brainer? People, we are really stuck up on them.
The first thing I'll say is, honestly, don't get your advice on television. That's the first thing I'll say. Yes, don't get your
For those who are watching this on television, like he's certified.
Yes, an expert can be certified, but not all advice gotten online is applicable to that individual listening in. I'll give a simple example. The other day I was live on television. Someone called in and they had a challenge, and they said, I've been taking lots of vegetables ever since I found out I had diabetes type 2. And I wanted to chop this weight and I wanted to get my heart better. So I was eating vegetables only. But I don't know what's wrong. Every time I feel dizzy, I want to stand up, I feel dizzy, I almost fall down. Now, imagine the person didn't call in. What was their issue? Low blood sugar. They weren't having enough energy in their food. They were having only vegetables and they weren't having enough energy in their food. And they maybe got a challenge that they said, let's eat vegetables for, let's say, 90 days. Or they've others who have said, zero sugar challenge, 90 days. Everyone goes into that fad, everyone's jumping onto it. You find people collapsing.
But this is why we need people like you, because you're certified. What I think the norm here is that you just go to a random doctor or a PT for everything. But there are people who are specifically coming to Amicable Nutrition just for nutrition.
That's true. But now here's the thing. Even I, maybe a dietitian who's registered and all that, when I come online and I'm doing an online show, I try so hard not to give personalized advice, because people will take what you've said as gold standard and then they go follow what you told them without full context. For them, it might lead to an adverse reaction. And yet, it could be a very good piece of advice. I'll give you another example. We've had the balanced diet taught to us ever since we were kindergarten. But many of us are overweight, sick, and what do we eat? A balanced diet. That's all. So a balanced diet is not bad. It's that you should have a recommended diet based on your activity levels, based on what you want to achieve as a health goal, based on your current health status.
But you know what I think?
Yes.
And I keep looking at pictures of me back in the day, like at uni and after uni. You're very tiny because you don't eat well. All you do is party and just eat what you can. It's not like when you're at home and having a proper meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't you think?
50-50, because you find that there are some other people who also had campus with you, but campus is when they just ballooned. I'll give you an example. When I went to campus as a little boy, you go to campus, you're excited, and they tell you, okay, fine, this is your hostel. They even tell you that now you're going to have food, maybe say from the restaurant down here. They even prepare for you because they're trying to first ease you into the system of being independent. Those things. So you go, you even just pick things from the supermarket. So every time it's bread and soda. Almost every campus student takes bread and soda. And there's some of them, because of that kind of diet, they put on a lot of weight. So I had to change that, because I was learning this kind of information from my nutrition class. I realized you can prevent this stuff yourself. I just cut back on the bread and soda. Simply, I began to eat more whole, real, and unprocessed foods. You know how you buy fene? Eat your fene as a full meal. It can be a dinner meal. You go with that, or breakfast meal. Then you can have a real meal, a healthy meal. You pick the things like yam, pumpkin, cassava, versus the white rice and posho and other things. You can have your beans or peas with a piece of meat, chicken. There's no really one food that's really bad for you. But the thing is that you have to pair them correctly for you to get the best benefit. And this is where we have lots of challenges with online shows or television or social media, where there's don't eat this, eat that. It's really, really common. But you find that for each individual, it's not the same thing. Someone can actually still eat the white rice or the posho, but if it's paired correctly, maybe say with some good sukuma wiki over there, and some beans to add the fiber, or even sprinkle on with some seeds like chia seeds or pumpkin seeds to increase the fiber content, that white posho, which is like the size of a fist, may not cause much of a problem. But that's for the healthy, normal individual. For someone who would like to lose weight, want to be healthy, a prescription can be given for them to do that. That's why I always encourage people that at least once in your lifetime, see a nutritionist near you. Just go see one who's certified, or at least even if you follow them on social media, go see them in person, because you only have 3 seconds to hook someone on social media. So what are you going to use? Something crazy, right? Something controversial. So people get to follow that, and they get so alarmed. They begin to take that as gospel advice. And yet, with full context, in a bit 20 minutes, you can get much more value for your health to follow and be healthy and well.
So from what you just said, it doesn't sound like you have beef for people who sell online.
No, I don't.
But you're also advocating that people need to visit
Yes, I actually encourage whoever is
Actual
selling online,
professional.
please use your hooks.
Yeah.
Please alarm them if you have to. Do
Yeah.
your thing. But I advise the people themselves to do due diligence, to actually follow up and get to see the expert. Because if you don't do it, you get stuck up in confusion. You find an expert telling you eat beef only, carnivore diet. Another person tells you keto is the way to go. Make sure you take tea which has butter tea. That person tell you, no, eat only vegetables. Vegetables are good for you. That's a blood group. So what are you going to do? Are you going to do all three? You can't. You have to follow one of the paths, and you have to know exactly how to follow it. So it's best for you to see the expert who said what, pick the one you want, the one you trust, and then get to listen to what they're telling you and follow that all the way. If you begin to pick and choose, it can become very troublesome.
Okay. Now, for the patriot, they're in Karamoja, they
Yes.
have no access to a nutritionist, but you said you should be able to balance your food well.
Yes.
What other tips off of your fingers can you give to them for them to be able to thrive in that middle class economy?
Now, you'll find that for every community, there are extension workers. And the advice given in each region is different. For example, the people in the Karamoja, the biggest challenge there would be to have them start cultivating and do like a backyard garden. That's it. So if you backyard garden your tomatoes, your onions, something simple, your mint, your little herbs and spices, you can add that to your meat, whatever it is you want to eat with it. Not a big challenge. So you have a much more wholesome meal. That is different from what you would advise someone in Bwindi. I was in Bwindi the other day. I did see some animals grazing in the districts before, but mostly you find they're cultivating Irish and other things. So you find that the leaves themselves can be edible, the Irish is edible. And did you know that leaves of peas have more protein than the actual pea?
Oh.
And yet everyone tells you, where's the protein on the plate? You're telling me to eat greens only. Am I a grasshopper or something?
Don't start looking for pea
Pea
leaves.
Yes, eat your dodo, nakachijovyo. Yes.
The usual.
And now spinach has high protein content. It may not be as bioavailable as the bean, as they say the bean, or as bioavailable as the meats, but the quantity is much higher. So that is what a dietitian knows in the back of the mind. So when they're advising you on how to eat well, it might help. People who are actually really, really far off, you find that the biggest challenge they face is not the overnutrition, usually undernutrition, because they don't diversify the diet. For example, you can't feed a child on cassava porridge. It has so many inhibitors, but also has low nutrition compared to things like millet or maize porridge, soya porridge. So those are things that your extension worker can inform you about or local government can support with. But besides that, because there's lots of instability in certain regions, there's low transference of information from the previous generation to the next one. Tell them how to eat well, how to live well. So there has to be a gap that should be filled through maybe mass education, could be on radio programs, it could be on physical going there. Because some areas you can't do a podcast. You'd have
Or
to go there physically.
documenting like you actually do. Documenting all this information for people far and wide
Far and
to
wide.
be able to access.
That's actually possible as well. Another thing I want to look into is this. If you're looking at general healthy eating, the simple thing you can look at is eat. I can't say the word rainbow anymore nowadays. It's so connected with so many other things. But ideally, eat a variety, different colors. Simple advice. Make sure you eat at least as many colors of food as possible, because every color gives you a different benefit. If it's green, there's a benefit from that. If it's yellow, there's a benefit from that. If it's red, maybe to help protect you from prostate cancer, heart health. Yellow, very high in helping you prevent inflammation, other things. If it's to do with green, helping you with blood formation and much more. So every color has a benefit. And then you have to eat variety of food. There's nuts, there's seeds, there's legumes. In Uganda, I don't know how many nuts we have, but I know that in the market there are things like cashew, almond. Then when you're looking at legumes, there are groundnuts, sesame, there is flax seeds, there's pumpkin seeds. Those are all in the seed category. Ideally, when you're looking at legumes, mention beans, peas, and others. Then you have meats, fish, chicken, have a variety. Yes.
I like the fact that you allude to the fact that there's support, especially in the rural areas. I don't know, for Amicable Nutrition, are there any policy recommendations that affect your work? That if you had a magic wand, you'd work on without interference?
I'll first give a tax holiday to everyone in this company.
Really?
Because it's a very new and budding field.
Everyone in your sector?
I'll give them a tax holiday, literally. Because ideally, you'd want to encourage them to enter that field, right? And usually everyone has the idea that wellness is expensive. And why is that? Because it's preventive care, not curative care. So there's lots of tax holidays, special understanding when it comes to drugs and other things. But when it comes to medical services, like nutrition, should be included. That's one. Two, I'd say that every insurance company giving insurance must give you nutrition also as well. As a service, honestly speaking, it doesn't make sense for you to give someone a gym membership of $1,000 and not even spare like 100 of them per year to nutritionists to make sure they actually are fit to be in the gym. When it comes to healthy food, like if someone is trying to use actual vegetables and fruits and make them more available, it should be a much more favorable environment than when someone is trying to sell you a second-hand cloth. I'm not saying I despise that. Yeah, I'm just trying to say that this would actually benefit so much to your health, and it should be prioritized by the government in terms of policy.
Content. One goes inside, the other is on top.
But you could wear anything. You can't wear a different body. The thing you're looking at is, if still in policy, I would look into having a mandatory CSR from nutrition companies or wellness companies to train other people who are younger. You find hospitals have that already. There's interns and everything going on. I feel like hospitals need to do the same. So we can help these nutritionists here to learn, get the skills they need to actually go out there and expand and go to Karamoja and go to Gulu and practice that side, or even abroad. Another thing I'd look into would be to actually make sure that whoever is giving advice on nutrition is a certified nutritionist. It shouldn't be some influencer. Because the challenge we face with that is that people do all that stuff and they get very adverse reaction. You find that some diets are supposed to be medically supported. For example, do keto a lot, and yet keto is supposed to be a medically supervised diet. But ideally, you can get into ketoacidosis, and it can be very, very deadly. If not dealt with properly, someone can die. So there's so many things that people advise online that could be very harmful to individuals who follow them. The last thing I would say would be to actually, when it comes to companies working, there should be like a wellness bonus for the person who's the most healthy, who hits all their metrics, like a check just to be much healthier. Because most likely they're more productive in your workforce. Sometimes it is not always a guarantee, but someone who's healthy can be someone who can support your team much better. That's it.
Well, there you have it, dear patriots. We have had Ivan here, he's in a rush, so we're going to keep it really short. We're going to do the fun part. We have the very last question.
I could go a few more minutes.
You could go a few more
ask my
minutes.
next people to actually hold up for a little
bit.
Just to help the patriots get very good value.
Exactly, because it's very important today. Like you said, we have a lot of people dying because of malnutrition.
Correct.
And then over as well. So you'd think over is a luxury, but no, it's not. So here we are. We have two rapid fire questions. One is, what are we doing well to continue, because it will take us to the middle class economy, which is our goal. Okay. And then what are those things we're doing that we need to stop, cut it now, because we're not going anywhere with them. They won't take us anywhere.
So when you say we, do you mean the nation? Do you mean the
Uganda.
individuals?
Yeah.
Do you mean the country?
You can personalize it. I think it's Uganda as a whole.
The first thing I'd say is that, honestly speaking, the nation is appreciating wellness and nutrition in particular. Just the other day I was at Nura and they had a Well Fest. And at Well Fest, we had nutritionists coming through. My team was there. And we had other people coming in from testing and diagnostics. You had others doing HIV and AIDS education and prevention and much more. That's a good thing. It's a good start. Although it happens like once or twice a year or 3 times and it's forgotten about. But if you imagine that could happen like every single, maybe say quarter or every month, is a reminder, a refresher, you have champions going on and an actual wellness program that has rewards to it and incentives. That's a good thing. So that's one we should continue doing, where you have those corporate wellness talks to different individuals in government offices, private offices, to actually make sure they understand. Because step one is always knowledge. If people know what to do, the behavior change will come naturally step by step.
The reason why we have this podcast.
The second thing that we are doing well that should be encouraged is that as a nation, we're actually trying to push for agriculture. And there are lots of incentives that we actually put there. There's some tax breaks on some equipment for agriculture. Pardon?
And seed. There are quite a
seeds,
lot of
right?
incentives.
Yeah, and much more. Even investment. So we're doing well there. Let's keep it up, because without the food, obviously there won't be nutrition to even talk about.
We wouldn't be here.
Yes,
everybody eats.
The second thing. The third thing we're interestingly doing well is that in our planning and strategy, nutrition is actually very focal. If we look at the actual plans, let's say His Excellency puts out, and even the manifesto of that ruling party, or even shadow governments, you find that nutrition is really focal in their planning. Implementation is a different story, but it is actually in there. They write a lot of detail about it, how it's important, how it helps you with productive workforce, how it helps you with alleviation of poverty, how it creates opportunities for employment, like you have chefs, you have nutritionists, and much more. So those are the 3 things I think we're doing well, and we should encourage to keep doing them.
What do we need to stop today?
In nutrition, first thing we need to stop. We need to stop not implementing what we discuss. We have a lot of plans for nutrition, but we don't implement them. There's so many gaps in there. The gap that comes from what has been discussed to what's actually implemented is quite big. So we need to actually start implementing everything that we've talked about and put a budget there. Not just say it's a good thing and don't put budget there.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, what else should we stop? We should stop doing yo-yo dieting or fad diets, whereby you get into this water-only, oxygen-only diet, where you go no food for a long period of time. Stop doing those things. Actually, pay attention to your body. Eat a variety of food. Let me do the general guideline now, which is balanced diet for those to make sure you won't die. But you could fall sick if you overeat the staple or the carbohydrate-rich food. Have half your plate vegetables. The other part of it can have the carbohydrate-rich food like cassava, yam, pumpkin, you name it. And then you have the other quarter which has the protein-rich food like legumes, beans, yamachoma, whatever it is, you eat that. So at least of doing medayona, let's portion it well. The third thing we should stop doing is taking advice on nutrition from a nutritionist. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself. Like, honestly speaking, you find people, I have nothing against gym instructors, nothing against medical doctors, nothing against food scientists, you name it. But I recommend that if you want to get nutrition advice, get it from a nutritionist. Because in many cases, you tarnish the name of the profession because you went to the wrong professional. And yet, you could have gotten the right guidance at the right time and supported you along your journey. That's what I would answer to your rapid fire questions.
Wonderful. Well articulated. I love that. And I think that Patriot has also understood that. So what do you think it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy?
Okay, I'm going to stick to my sector. The first thing would be to invest heavily in nutrition, lifestyle, and healthy living. When you have a healthy workforce, it's able to think well for you, plan, and implement what you need. We'll have less lost productivity because of malnutrition. The second thing would be to actually incentivize the wellness industry. If we can incentivize it with some tax incentives, I believe that we can have many more budding entrepreneurs in the industry of wellness. We'll have more opportunities to create jobs for not just nutritionists, but also other supportive staff like chefs and other people like accountants. So there'll be more businesses coming in, and that will improve the household income. The third thing I'll stress would be for Uganda to actually embrace a holistic approach to well-being. And not just think every time you're sick, take a drug or a medication, but also think about what you do in terms of lifestyle, what food you eat, how you eat it. And that can actually help us to leap to that middle income status. Why this would be important, it means that you would have every individual with a lower medical burden because you're shifting it to preventive versus curative. It's cheaper to prevent an illness than to cure it in some cases. So I think.
It was wonderful. It was such an honor to have you, Ivan. Thank you so much. When I saw you in the list, I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was very important to have this conversation today.
I should throw a shout out.
Yes.
You know, come find us in Bukoto. Have a chat with us about nutrition. We're found in Moyo Close, plot 2058. Our phone number is 0709 772 662. You can find us there. Just give us a buzz, book an appointment. Let's talk. Let's see how to support. If it can be for individual purposes, but also can be for policy, can also be for research, can also help your company be much more productive. If you guys, if you want food to be delivered to you, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, we do that. Check out our website as well, amicablenutritionists.com. We're very happy to help them. I remain Ivan Philip Baguma. I'm a dietitian, and I bring you in harmony using food. People use drugs and injections and surgeries. I just use food as medicine.
If God don't make it, don't take it.